Kristaps Porzingis playing game one for the Celtics, or is he? Kyrie Irving changing the narrative, and is JJ Redick the right guy to become the Lakers head coach like it looks like he's going to be? It's all right now on the Locked On NBA podcast.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On NBA podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. Thank you for subscribing, watching us on YouTube, and getting into that comment section and letting us know what you think about everything we are about to say on this here podcast. On Wednesdays, it's us, your regular hosts. I'm John Karalis, host of the Locked On Celtics podcast. Find me on Twitter at John_Karalis.
And I'm Jake Madison, host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast on Twitter at NOLA. Jake, John, you've almost made it. Almost there to the NBA Finals. One day.
2 more sleeps. That's it. And it's finals time. I am excited. A non-finals topic coming up later on. JJ Redick, it seems like he, according to Shams Charania, the Lakers are zeroing in on him. We'll see what that means. Kyrie Irving is changing the narrative. It'd be interesting from a Boston perspective. But let's start with the news of Kristaps Porzingis. It was reported earlier on Tuesday that he has gone through all scrimmages in Boston and is preparing to play game one. Then after that was reported, I was there at the Celtics practice facility when he came out and talked. Jake, I asked him right away, I said, are you 100%? And he said, well, first of all, hey guys, and we'll see. So we'll see to the question of, are you 100% is a no. He's not 100%. And when he asked, are you playing through pain right now? Are you running without pain? He took a literal 7-second pause and then said, yes. So I don't know about you, but when I get a pause for 7 seconds, and I don't trust the answer that's coming after that 7-second pause.
That's an eternity. Like, I know 7 seconds doesn't sound long, but I probably bet in the moment that was just like, this is uncomfortable. And like, can somebody say something? No, that means he's definitely still in pain, right? Like he's not at 100%. I think his answers are trying to dance around that, but it's very clear that he's not at 100%. And what I kind of say to that is, so what? Right? You don't need to be at 100%. Is anyone truly at 100% in early June after playing basketball since like September, October with training camps and things like that? Everyone's a little bit banged up, but I understood them not playing him at 100% before the finals, but the goal was to have him available and playing in some capacity in the finals. So if he's not 100%, I don't think it's that big of a deal as long as he can go out and be effective.
Yeah, and I think the bigger issue for him is making sure he doesn't suffer a catastrophic injury, which everybody is so scared because they saw Kevin Durant a few years ago go through the same thing. Calf strain, come back and play, tear his Achilles, out for the entire next season, and that's not something you want to see for anybody. So I understand that there may be some risk, and I am very sensitive to that kind of stuff. So I hope that the decision to play is based on, we don't think you're going to re-injure or have that kind of catastrophic injury. There, he's out there. He has the kinesio tape up and down his Achilles, and I don't know how much help that's going to be, but they're trying something, and he doesn't have to be at 100% to be effective for the Celtics. I can tell you that what he needs to be is a deterrent at the rim, not necessarily just a super shot blocker or anything like that. I expect the Celtics to try to play Luka Doncic as straight up as you kind of can. They're not a team that likes to double much anyway, and I think the goal is to kind of stay home as much as possible on his passing options, so you're not giving up lobs, so you're not giving up the corner threes. You're trying to challenge Luka Doncic to come in and make tough twos and kind of live with, if he makes 70% of his fadeaway 2-pointers, that you hope the other 30% that he misses turn into something on the other end. And Porzingis is a big part of that plan, because him protecting the rim is going to be part of what forces Luka into those kinds of shots. I think he can do that at 80 or 90% or whatever he is. And hopefully he just doesn't re-aggravate this at some point in the finals.
Yeah, see, I think about him more offensively, because when you look at Dallas and what they do on defense, they like to pack the paint, and that's kind of what's carried them as far as it has so far in the playoffs. But they need him to be a stretch big, right? Like, can he shoot on the perimeter? And as long as he's making some threes, I think they're going to be in a good position to pull Gafford out of the paint, Lively out of the paint, right? Like those guys out of the paint a little bit and space that court a little bit more. And that's going to put like infinitely more pressure on the Dallas Mavericks defense. So it's kind of what you're saying, right? You can probably be a spot up shooter or at least shoot threes in that capacity at 80, 90%, not being 100%, because you're not looking for him necessarily to put the ball on the court and like drive to the basket or something like that. You need him to just be an actual threat on the perimeter and pull those bigs out of the paint.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how he's defended. I kind of expect Luka to start on Porzingis. This way, you're putting him on the least healthy guy, and I've been trying to figure out who Luka and Kyrie guard. All 9 days that they've been off. And I just don't know that there's a good answer there. And this is why, like when Mavs fans like get on me for my takes here, I just think that the Celtics have places that they can attack, multiple places where they can attack. Whereas I don't know that the Mavs have places that they can attack as easily in Boston's defense. But with Porzingis there, whatever it is, if you have him setting the picks, then if Luka starts on him, then you bring Porzingis into set the picks, and it's either going to be a switch or whatever, but you're trying to involve Luka Doncic there. And if he's not, then you still involve Luka or Kyrie somehow. But Porzingis, to your point, stepping up, setting the picks, and then popping or getting to that free throw line area. I've said this before. He's the number one assist option for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown over the course of the regular season, because he's been such a great outlet. I think he's very important to what the Celtics do offensively. He takes pressure off of Tatum and Brown. And if you can't send two to them because they're spraying it and they're able to kick it to Porzingis and he's hitting shots at a high enough rate, does Dallas adjust and say, we can't double them? Or do they live with, say, hey, if Porzingis is going to beat us, Porzingis is going to beat us?
Sometimes that's how I just kind of boil down matchups, to be perfectly honest with you. And I know it's more complex than that, but sometimes you just live with those guys beating you, right? Like if Porzingis lights you up, I don't know, it feels like it's like a process over results thing. And that seems to be the move, is shut down the Jays there. And if someone else does it, I was on the radio actually in New Orleans and they were talking NBA finals, and someone asked if I thought like Drew Holiday has a chance of winning finals MVP. And it's like, I don't know, man, if he's like wide open and has like 2-3 games where he hits like 6-7 threes, he's shot the ball extremely well this year and plays great defense. He's going to have those open looks. It feels like if he takes them and makes them and plays good defense, there's like a good chance he probably could in theory.
Yeah, look, there's opportunities for anybody on the Celtics to become Finals MVP, and this is where I think what Porzingis can open up, especially if you're drawing a big away from the rim, and this is where the matchup is going to be so important. If you're drawing a big away from the rim and the Celtics are driving, they are so focused on protecting the rim that it's going to draw in a lot of help. And then those kicks out to the corners are going to be to Holiday, Derek White, Al Horford. Those guys are all going to have opportunities to hit shots. And okay, let's say the Mavericks are good at closing out to that. Great. Then they'll just swing it. And then whichever guy, Jaylen or Jason drives, the other guy's going to be up at that other above the break slot. And now you have to react to him. And that opens you up to another drive and kick. So multiple attacks are going to be a real big thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if Porzingis is there at the top of the key, left wide open by accident, not by design. And he's going to have an opportunity to hit those shots. It's just going to be the difference here. The biggest difference he's going to bring in is when he sits, Al Horford is going to be the guy that comes in.
So Porzingis, you think is going to start? They're just going to throw him right into the starting lineup.
Well, yes, for a couple of reasons. One, it's just their natural lineup.
Yeah, I mean that's what they were doing before the injury,
right? And two, when the guy's warmed up with any kind of like injury, like a calf injury, a muscle injury, go through the warm-ups and get right into the game. Like I think that's there's a value.
That's
to
a really good. No, that's a very good point.
Yeah, so I expect him to start. And then when he sits, and it's probably going to be short stints, Al Horford comes in and he's a floor spacer too. It's not like you're bringing in Luke Cornett, who can be fine in some instances, but he's not a shooter. He's not a floor spacer, and he changes the entire spacing of the offense. And you don't want to do that. Boston's offense is so good with Porzingis and Horford, either or, that avoiding a Cornett, a Tillman, a Brissett, a non-shooter is a huge key to them winning. All right. Kyrie Irving is a big key to the Mavs. In fact, I think stopping Kyrie is maybe the most important thing that Boston can do. I'll talk about that and talk about the narrative that he might be changing about himself next. Today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. Now, I've talked about therapy. I've gone through therapy. I believe that it's very, very helpful. Sometimes you just need to talk to somebody and get something off your chest. Is it something that's going on at work? Is it something that's been hanging around longer, deeper, family stuff, whatever it is? Talking to somebody is very, very helpful. BetterHelp.com can really take some of the obstacles away because it's all online, convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule. No trying to find somebody that's in your area. You find somebody online. You go to betterhelp.com/lockedon. Not only do you get 10% off your first month, you get to fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist. Then, if it doesn't click, it doesn't work, you can switch for no extra charge. That is a very important thing because you can switch until you find somebody. And when you find somebody you're comfortable talking to, then you can get to the heart of what's bothering you and you can start feeling better. BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. HELP, BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On Sports Today. All the big shows, all the smart sports talk, not all of the fake arguing, blah, blah, blah talking heads. Get the real talk, real sports talk 24/7 on YouTube and on the Amazon Fire TV channels app. Kyrie Irving is, I don't know, man. He seems happy.
He does. He seems like a kind of a different, I don't want to say different person, right? But he's like, he's in a good spot.
More at ease.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
More comfortable in his own skin, it feels like. And he's talked like, listen, now I've covered him. I've been in locker rooms. I was there for him. Kyrie versus the young guys in Boston, and that not going well. And he a lot of talking down, a lot of like not being on the same level, trying to lead, not being able to do it. He talked about how a death in his family, and he wasn't very well equipped to handle that. And to the point where he not forces his way, but he makes things bad in Boston. Like it got bad. It got toxic. Celtics fans are not happy with him leaving, how he left.
He's going to hear it game one. He is going to hear it game one for sure.
They think he quit on the team. Like they lost to the Milwaukee Bucks and he had a horrible series and he decided that he wanted to guard Giannis and that didn't go well. All of that stuff happened. Then he goes to Brooklyn and that didn't go well. Then he goes to Dallas and everybody's like, oh, Dallas, good luck with that. And you know what? It worked and good for them. This is an opportunity where I don't think it's been about Kyrie changing the narrative. I think that's just naturally starting to happen a little bit because I think the number one thing you could do is come out and be like, you know what? I didn't handle the Boston situation well. I went through some stuff. It didn't go great. And I wasn't representative of who I am. All we can do is go through time to see if that's true. But it feels like he's being genuine right now.
Yeah, it does, right? And you and I aren't the biggest Kyrie guys, and that's probably putting it mildly. But as I've watched him through these playoffs, and even this season, even last season, right? The question was like, is Dallas going to give him that contract in the offseason, and what's that going to look like, and how big of a risk is that, right? After the trade there, maybe he's on his best behavior to get the deal, and then he gets the money, and who knows what's going to happen. But it just definitely seems like there's been a change in him for whatever it is, and the focus is now shifted from everything else going on around him to basketball. And that's what we want. And then when you go and see him play, you are reminded how good this dude is, that he's arguably the best finisher of a guard ever in the league, or up in that conversation, that he's
in the class photo.
Right? Like he's so talented, he's so good, and that hasn't been the conversation around him for a while. And so as frustrated as I've been with Kyrie in the past, it's nice to just focus on basketball for a minute here and what he's doing to elevate this team, and that there aren't those other distractions or things like that. And you see him bot more in. You talk about like not quitting, quitting on the Celtics. It's a guy who's like really trying to commit even more on defense with the Dallas Mavericks and what they've been doing, right? And maybe that's Jason Kidd kind of speaking his language, similar positions, all of that, someone that he respects and is going to listen to. But there's something to be said for just going out and playing, and then you're like, oh yeah, this dude is freaking awesome, and he is as a basketball player. And it's nice to be able to talk about that on this show versus the other times that we've brought him up where we're just like, again. And look, this is how the world works. What have you done recently? How have you been recently? And it kind of washes away a lot of that other stuff. And so him playing so well is kind of changing, in a sense, the narrative, because that's what we're focused on now.
It's funny. It reminds me, there's a comedian, I forget who it was. I'd love to give him credit. But he went up on stage and he said, I've never done drugs. And like the crowd was silent. And it's like, okay, if I had told you that I did drugs, was addicted, and I kicked drugs, everybody would be like cheering me on, because everybody loves a redemption story.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It doesn't matter almost when Kyrie has done what he did. And let's go back to Cleveland. He forced his way out of Cleveland. Like, Cleveland has been in a shambles since then. They have not figured it out since he left. He did what he did in Boston, did what he did in Brooklyn. And all three fan bases have legitimate gripes and long-standing kind of venom. And then he goes to Dallas and like, oh, he's growing up. He's like in his 30s. He like goes back and he's like, man, I didn't know. I didn't know any better. I was trying to figure it out. And, I did all that stuff. It's one thing to be like, I've never done that stuff, and people will just like not think of it. When you've done that stuff and now he becomes the redemption case, like, and I don't want to be kind of like unfair here. I'm not comparing what he did to drug use. I was just comparing the
I get the analogy you're making and everything.
I just want to be clear about that. Like, but it's the redemption arc for any character. We all love the redemption arc, and he has an opportunity, kind of like Kristaps Porzingis does in Boston. All the Dallas fans think about what he was there and what he is in Boston. Like, we love the redemption story, and Kyrie has an opportunity for one hell of a redemption story if he can team up here with Luka for a championship.
So imagine the conversation we'd be having right now if he didn't kind of have those, call them lost years in Brooklyn and things like that, where he wasn't playing, when he wasn't maybe being the best version of himself. The conversation we'd be having around him would be like, is this dude like an all-time great if he had like 3 more real good seasons under his belt or something, going for his second championship here, right? When you and I were kind of planning out the show, I'm like, we could do a whole show on like legacies and what it means for some of these people here. Kyrie's is really interesting because a second title where he's got that kind of redemption arc to it does a lot. But imagine what it would be if you didn't have, if you had 3 good years in Brooklyn, even if you didn't win a title there.
Yeah. No, it would have been much different. And now here we are, and I'm sitting here saying, stop Kyrie. Like, he's a key. he's like, I'm living with Luka. Like, I know you can't stop Luka, and I know you can't stop Kyrie either, but of the two, you're more likely to make Kyrie do less. And one of the keys for Boston is, if it's going to be Luka and you're going to live with Luka, like I said, trying to single cover him, understanding that there's going to be some level of every defense against Luka from time to time. You just got to try to keep him off balance and when the other stuff is coming, but mostly don't let him become a 12 assist guy. Kyrie is a key, because not only the minutes that Luka's off the floor, winning non-Luka minutes is just going to be massive.
You have to do that. This is with every star player, right? When that guy's not on the court, you've got to win those minutes. And when you don't, that game is just done.
But also cutting off when they're both on the floor together, just cutting off the water on that side of the floor. And if they do a my turn, your turn kind of thing, then the Kyrie my turn has to be inefficient because Luka's your turn is probably going to be efficient and somehow like it's going to be good. It's Kyrie is the key to me. And that's where I don't want to throw doubles at Luka, but I'm going to throw as many of them as I can at Kyrie. I know he had a couple of great assist series, but I'm still trying to see if maybe you tap into some of that ego. Maybe you tap into some kind of visceral thing when the Boston crowd is giving it to him and he's like, oh man, it just triggers a little kind of relapse into that, oh, I'm going to try to do it all myself.
We've also seen him kind of get taken out of games too. That happened in the loss to the Timberwolves, right? Where he just like didn't show up really. I think we talked about it on the show. It was last week where it was just like, he wasn't there. It felt like, and maybe if you can get in his head a little bit, maybe that does have an impact on that sort of thing too.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be the thing. If the Celtics can do that a couple of times, then that could be 2 wins and you just got to figure out 2 more somehow. Okay, that's the NBA Finals. A team that has been there but wants to get back before LeBron James retires. Eventually, he's going to have to at some point, I think. Looks like it's going to be head coach JJ Redick. We'll talk about that when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. I don't know if the odds, I should have checked the odds on JJ Redick becoming coach before this all happened. But look, it's a great time to get out and download that FanDuel app. Go and have some fun with the NBA Finals. Celtics, 6.5-point favorites in game 1. What do you think? Are you taking the Celtics to win by 7? Are you taking the Celtics to win by less than that? Are you taking the Mavs to win? Lay down $5 on that game. And if you win, if you're a new customer, you'll get $150 in bonus bets when you win. That's a great deal. $150 in bonus bets to bet on spreads, money lines, player props. There's tons of player props and more. Jason Tatum is the favorite to win Finals MVP. What do you think? You can take some of the bonus bets and bet it there. It's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up and take advantage of this deal. And also take advantage of their tools to gamble responsibly, set your limits, set your budget. They want you coming back. So have fun with whatever money you have to spend and have some fun with it. Don't overdo it. Set your limits with the tools that they have. Gamble responsibly at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, Jake. JJ Redick, according to Shams Charania, the Los Angeles Lakers are zeroing in on JJ Redick as the frontrunner to be the franchise's next head coach, according to his sources. So let's have fun playing our favorite game.
Is this real or fake? Just ask John and Jake.
Real or fake, Jake Madison? JJ Redick is the guy to take the Lakers to the promised land.
So I have to say fake on this because the Pelicans own the Lakers' unprotected first-round pick in 2025, so next year. So for the team I cover,
you can say real, but not for another few years.
You know, no, I don't say that because
you can't say that either.
I'm going to be honest here. Given the situation that the Lakers have, is there any coach where the answer is truly going to be real for this sort of thing? Given that you need to win now, but also be the head coach and develop for the future, those are like very much competing ideas. Look at the Golden State Warriors trying to do that 2 timelines thing, and that feels like the Lakers want a little bit of that, and that just doesn't end well. And so to throw a first-time head coach into that situation, I don't feel it's just conducive to success. Look at how many head coaches get fired once, twice, Jason Kidd, before you kind of grow into that role more. It takes a while. Jason Kidd is on his 3rd team. And so JJ Redick going to one of the biggest markets, one of the most high pressure filled, high profile jobs. He might be good. I don't doubt that, but I don't feel confident saying that probably about anybody that they could really get outside of like Greg Popovich, Spoelstra, but anyone available. I'll say this though, if I want to put an asterisk on it, when you look at the two candidates that they were basically kind of coming down to, JJ Redick and Pelicans assistant coach James Borrego, I maybe have more faith in JJ Redick than Borrego, and I'm a fan of Borrego. Borrego's head coaching record is 148 and 183. That's a 44.7 winning percentage. It's not particularly screaming, I will have success here. But it also would have been his third head coaching stop, so maybe there's something to that. You got to get fired and grow a little bit as well. So, no, this is fake to me just because I don't know if anyone's truly going to succeed here.
Yeah, listen, let's use Jason Kidd as an example. Jason Kidd, clear debacle in his previous two stops. Like just absolute, just dumpster
There was
fire.
some good stuff in certain places with that, right? Like he really empowered Giannis in Milwaukee, but overall as a head coach, like he had to learn some lessons.
Yeah, he had to, sure, he empowered Giannis, but I mean, it still didn't go great.
Yeah, that's fair.
Then he gets to Dallas, and it's still not going great in Dallas until the trade deadline this year. And he gets the players, and is it the coaching or is it, I have the players that actually fit. And these are the players that fit what we're trying to do. So coaching, yes, it does involve, but coaching when you have all of the pieces that you need, it makes you a great coach. Look at Joe Mazzulla. Joe Mazzulla's in the finals too. He first time head coach, just pulled from the second row, thrown in under weird circumstances, gets to the conference finals, weird, and they went down 3-0, forced a game 7, so got the game 7 in the conference finals, and now he's in the NBA finals and is the favorite to win. Is he an amazing head coach, or does he have the right players? Like, that's where the questions lie.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's like little column A, little column B here, right?
Sure.
Like when I kind of look at Jason Kidd this season, he was on the hot seat going in. He was absolutely on the hot seat going into this year for Dallas. Did he just become a great head coach overnight? No, I do think he grew this season and you could see it. Like, I do think his like playoff rotations have been really, really good. He kind of seems to understand that team really well and know which guys to do. There's a couple of little like tactical things that he's done, even just finding ways to get, Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic like extra rest. Also, his challenges have been really spot on in the postseason, which is there's something to be said for that. So, but that doesn't matter if you don't have the players. Like it all comes down to that, right? Like JJ Redick could be a tactical genius, but if LeBron James gets hurt or Anthony Davis gets hurt or they don't have the right roster, you'll make the play-in tournament and that's about that, right? For these guys, head coaching matters. Don't get me wrong on that. But It also takes like such a perfect storm of things for it to be like, that dude is brilliant. Look, Popovich is brilliant, right? But look how he's done in the post-Tim Duncan era here, where they've been at best a play-in tournament team for the most part, right? Like that stuff matters too. And that's not taking away from the coaches.
That's right. Look, JJ Redick, super smart guy. Super smart. You hear him on the podcast talking to like all of these guys are smart. Like this is the misconception. Like Adrian Griffin, who got fired 5 minutes into his career, super smart when it comes to like you sit down and talk to Adrian Griffin and you come out of it like, oh my God, this guy's like freaking basketball Einstein. Darvin Ham, who just got fired, is very smart when it comes to basketball. You don't get to this level without being super smart.
No, not at all.
Right. So what's the key to being a great head coach? The X's and O's, everybody's going to have them. You got to have the right X's and O's for the teams that you have, but you got to be able to connect with the guys and get them all onto the same page. Can you connect with everybody in that locker room? Now, even though LeBron has been public or what it's been reported, he's not involved in this search. Don't think that the Lakers don't see him doing a podcast with JJ Redick and having good chemistry with JJ Redick and have them saying like, hey, look, man, that's how he talks to his head coach. Those guys have a rapport. That's the most important thing. Having that rapport with LeBron is number one. And if they can do that, okay, that's a good step. I'm not saying any of us is going to podcast our way into a head coaching job, but having a rapport is
that'd be cool though.
And it would be awesome. I mean, if the Hornets want the Hornets actually just got a pretty good head coach, but I'll go any team that's looking to tank, I will sit there and have a 32% winning percentage for any tanking team, and I'll take $2 million a year, cheap, super cheap. Look, you got to connect with the players. You got to and you got to get them all on the same page, and you got to have the players that work. That's all it is. So I'm going to also say it's fake because I don't think the Lakers have the players. It will become real if the Lakers can make moves this offseason, which I haven't looked at and I don't know what they are. But if they can make the moves this offseason to make that roster make more sense, and if they can do that, then JJ Redick will be a very good head coach if he's got the players to execute the plan. All on the same page, all doing the same thing, accomplishing the same goal, and your best players behind you, that's going to be a good team.
Yeah, I'm with that. I think that's what it is. It's a players thing. It's a players league. Coaching matters. It can also not matter if you don't have the players and you're still going to lose a ton of games. Unless you're Eric Spoelstra, in which case you're just like a wizard or something like that.
Like just dude, one of the weird, that's just a weird aberration.
It's an outlier. That dude can just do it with anybody. And I truly believe that, but that is not how it normally goes.
That's right. That's right. But yeah. But
look at Michael Malone. He was fired. He was fired from the Sacramento Kings. He was on the hot seat.
The Kings, they don't know what the hell they're doing.
No, but he was he didn't make the playoffs his first 3 years in Denver, and now he's thought of as one of the best head coaches. Was he bad for those first 3? Like maybe you grow too as a head coach, but it just kind of goes to show you it's not like you step in and revolutionize things necessarily.
No, it's connect with the guys, get them to buy in, if your best player's on your side, great. That you need that, and you got to have the right horses. You got to have the horses. All right, why do we still measure things in horsepower? You're a car guy. Why does that?
I don't know, because we've done it for forever. Because I don't know, horses are pretty. I got nothing, man.
I don't know. That just popped into my head. I said horses, and we were talking about cars before, and that popped in my head. All right, that's a good place to end the show. Thanks, as always, for listening to this Wednesday Locked On NBA. Tomorrow will be the other half of the finals. Nick Angstead, Locked On Mavs host, with Pat the Designer, and that'll be their take, official preview. Oh, do you want to give a pick on the finals? Everybody's giving their picks.
Yeah, give me Celtics in 6.
That's what I said. Celtics in 6. I think that, and that takes into account 2 Luka gems that just absolutely. Yeah. So, all right. 2 Celtics and 6s. All right. Thanks for listening. On Wednesdays, I'm John Karalis, host of the Locked On Celtics podcast. You find me on Twitter at John_Karalis.
I'm Jake Madison, host of Locked On Pelicans. Don't fire me, Nick. You can follow me on Twitter at Nola Jake.
Nick's only picking the Mavs because he has to. We all know that. Hey, I would love it if you shared the podcast. Everybody subscribe, get into that YouTube page, get into that comment section, and spread the word. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On NBA podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.